Hey, today we have another tier list video, and today it's going to be carb sources for cutting. So we're going to go through all these different common carb sources and figure out which ones are the best to get you to your weight loss goals. And we have Nicolette back again for another one. So thanks for coming, Nicolette.
Yes, hi. I'm excited to be here and switching it up this week. We're going from training now into food and carb sources for losing fat and in a diet phase. So it's going to be super packed with value in this one.
Yes, and our tiers are broken down into shred fuel. So these are going to be the sources that are great for dieting. The things we're kind of looking at are how digestible are the foods, how nutritional are they, and then how satiating are they, or how filling are they. So as we categorize those, shred fuel is going to be the ones at the top where they should definitely be in your diet because they will make you feel full. They're easy to digest and they are full of nutrition. Diet safe is still great choices, but maybe one of those categories is lacking a little bit. Technically legal, where it's like, yes, you could use these carb sources, but the ones above them are probably better and they are at higher risk for you maybe overeating. And then we have binge bait. So this is where one of these categories is severely lacking, probably the satiety one, especially, where if the portions are going to be very small and you'll be very likely to eat more food. So we're going to go
Exactly.
ahead and get started, and we'll go left to right. So the first one we have up is going to be pasta.
So pasta, for me, I would put that at binge bait. Binge bait for pasta.
Okay, so pasta's
That's one.
binge bait. So why is
Yeah,
that?
that's one food you want to eat more of. Like it's
Yeah.
just, you want to eat more. You don't get a lot portionality wise for what it is calorically. So when you're dieting, you want to utilize the foods that are going to be satiating and not have you reaching for something else or more servings of right after you eat. So you don't get a lot out of it. That's why I would put it at the bottom.
Okay, so let's break it down, and I guess we can start with the digestibility. How is the digestibility of pasta?
Yeah, digestibility for pasta, I would rank that a 3. So giving it a 3, there are different variations of pasta. We have lots of different ones with gluten-free being one now, but based on an overarching looking at the digestion, ranking that a bit lower.
Are there certain types that would be more digestible than others? Like we mentioned, like the gluten-free. I think there's also like a rice-based pasta that might be a little bit
Mm-hmm.
better, which is also gluten-free. Which and
Yeah.
the worst ones would be probably just like the standard like flour-based ones, or I guess what is pasta made out of?
Yeah, it is the gluten. So you're going to get heavy gluten base. So if people have an intolerance or even a gluten allergy, they would definitely not opt for a normal pasta. And
Mhm.
one of those other options could be really beneficial. They make so many variations now. You have the brown rice pasta, you have like a black bean, a red lentil,
Mhm.
chickpea. So something like that is going to make it a little bit different, one, nutritional value and digestibility. So there's lots of
Yeah.
different variations and you have to do what works digestion wise for you. These are all going to be a little bit person to person dependent, but looking at the overarching and taking that into consideration.
Yeah. And then next up, we'll take a look at the nutritional value of pasta. So just a
I would
standard pasta, what would we
I would
do
put
that
that in a
as?
3 as well.
Yeah, and then obviously that will change if you are choosing these like lentil based or something like that. But yeah, in general, it's going to be pretty low.
Uh-huh.
And then we have the satiating aspect, the satiety, which is the main reason why we ranked it this low. So what would you give that?
Yes, satiety, I would give that a 4. It's not going to be the most satiating. We're going to talk about other carbohydrate sources that are going to be a lot more satiating than a pasta choice. So, if you have a lot of calories and we can do one on building, then this is something you want to utilize. But in a cut, which we're talking about to lose fat, it's not going to be giving you the best option to be satiated, see those fat loss results, and feel fulfilled in your diet and not super hungry.
Yeah. And even the healthier variations probably still struggle with this too, because it's still pretty callrie dense and
Yes.
your portions are still going to be pretty small. So Even if you do opt for those maybe more nutritional variations of pasta, it's still going to be pretty low on the satiety aspect.
Yeah, I always think about it like how much food volume you can get for the caloric amount. And that's going to matter a lot in dieting, in cutting. So you have less calories to work from. And if you can get something that is more volume, so you have a bigger portion for the same amount of calories, that's going to be a better option. So I look at pasta as like this little portion, right? 200 calories versus another carb. We'll talk about potatoes, vegetables. You can almost double that portion size and volume of the food for the same calories.
Yeah, that's going to make your diet much more successful if you're able to have larger portions and it'll keep you from eating other things. Um,
Absolutely.
and that brings us to the next one, which is vegetables.
Okay, yes. Vegetables, I would put them at shred fuel.
Definitely. And then obviously there's a huge variation with what type of vegetable, which we'll go into some of like the better and worse ones. But we'll start with just in average, the digestibility and what causes some to be worse than others.
Yes, they can range so greatly. There are some that are digested so easily and so well, and there are some that are a little bit tougher to digest. So I would give that overall a 7 if we're taking into consideration all the vegetables.
And then what are some of the vegetables that are like easier to digest? And what are some of them ones that we should probably maybe avoid for digestibility?
So, if you struggle digesting, the cruciferous vegetables are going to be the ones that are the main culprit to cause a little GI distress, bloating, and those unwanted symptoms. But it also depends on the cooking method too. So, you can opt for non cruciferous vegetables, which cruciferous, you're going to be in that broccoli category, cauliflower, right? So, it also,
Hmm.
again, if you cook your vegetables, that will help the digestibility. So if you're eating raw, it's going to be a bit harder. So ones that are my favorite for digestion and I keep all throughout my prep, which is my fat loss phase, and my digestion stays super healthy, is zucchini. That's very heavily water based too. So it's going to only aid in digestion. Spinach is another great one. I love string
Hmm.
beans. So those are some, there's so many. We could talk about vegetables for
Yeah,
like the whole time, but those are just a couple of my top ones and the difference in how they digest within the body.
great. And then next up, nutritional value.
10 as well. These are packed with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all the nutrients you need. In a cut phase, that's really important because you are in a deficit of calories. So, a deficit of calories means a deficit of nutrients, vitamins, minerals, micronutrients. You don't want to forget because you're hitting your macros, don't throw micronutrients out the window because this will help you feel better, your internal body functioning better when you have a good profile of those vitamins, minerals, and the things that make our cells and body function optimally.
Yeah. And then satiety.
Satiety, I would give that a 10 as well.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Vegetables are very important for your cutting phase, like Nicolette said, not just because of how micronutriently dense they are and how much better you will feel eating them, but also because, yeah, they're very filling. You get huge portions
Mm-hmm.
for very little calories.
Yes, yeah. In the comparison to pasta, it's like, more than double. So you're getting a
Yeah,
lot more that you can eat and feel fuller and satiated for a longer duration because of also, we didn't even touch on the fiber that is
right.
associated with those that really help with keeping you fuller for longer. So fiber is really important as well, where you're not getting that in the pasta.
Yeah. And then next up is it's another vegetable, but I think these are still should be considered separate, which are like legumes.
Yes.
So how would we rank this?
Legumes for digestibility, that would be a 7. There are many variations of these, and it could be person dependent. Some people digest very easily. If someone has some, more GI issues, we'd err on the side of caution with some of these, and then cooking method too. But overall, giving those a 7 for digestibility.
Okay. And then I guess which tier would we put it in first?
Oh, yeah. Um, I'm going to put it in diet safe.
Okay. So digestibility, you put it like a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Are there certain ones that you tend to recommend in your diet more? Or you find yourself giving your clients more?
So it's going to be person dependent on these as well and what they preference, but there are some that could be really useful. And why I like them is because they also provide a good nutritional value.
That brings us to nutritional value. So what would we give it to that for that one?
10 for that one.
And then satiety.
Satiety, giving that a 9. They can be satiating, so there's different variations that you'll get, again, speaking about more volume for your caloric intake. So there's some that you'll get a bit more volume of. So they are pretty satiating carbohydrates in that regard, where you're getting a decent amount of volume. Something like
Okay.
beans,
Yeah.
beans would be in that position, lentils. So those also have good nutritional value.
Yeah. So overall, great source. I guess what's separating it from the top tiers that maybe some of these might have equal nutritional value, but also better digestibility and everything all together. So still a great source for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yes.
All right. So next up, we have rice. So this is a super common. Anyone thinks diet or bodybuilding, they think chicken rice, chicken rice. So it's like, is rice actually how good of it is as a carb source, and where do we put it here?
So there's so many variations of rice too. So this one is tricky to rank because you have different variations of rice. And it would go for me in, oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time with deciding because if you pair it with your protein source
Mhm.
and your fat source and like a vegetable, it's going to be a bit more satiating than on its own.
Right.
So I would put it in diet safe.
Yeah, I think I agree with that one too. And what makes it really good is probably the first category, which is digestibility. So what would you give it there?
Yeah. Yeah, digestibility is great with it. I would give that a 9.
Yeah, almost anyone can tolerate rice really well. And I guess where it has its limitations would be these next categories. So like the nutritional value, where we put it there.
Yeah, that's where it's a little bit limiting. It's a 4 for me in nutritional value. So not as much, not as really, you're not going to get the vitamin mineral profile of a vegetable, legume, potato,
Hmm.
things like that.
And it's the satiety.
Also a 4. So especially white rice, you're not
Hmm.
going to feel as full and satiated. It is quicker digesting, so you're not getting that fiber. It's also less voluminous. So if we take into account the same thing that I always look at, the volume for calories and macros, you can eat about 140 grams of a sweet potato, and that equivalents to like 100 grams of rice. So you just that 40 grams, if you're dieting, it makes a difference. Okay.
No, it
You know
does.
that 40 grams makes a difference. So just that choice alone, like I would, that's why
Yeah.
it's not at the top
And then
yet.
let's talk about
And
brown rice for a second. So
yeah,
it's not really common in the bodybuilding circle for people to eat brown rice. Is that, do you think people should be, or is there a reason why people don't eat it more?
I like brown rice. I do have that on occasion. And I was going to talk about this too. Like rice is can be a good dieting food and a good choice because you have variety with it. So people
Hmm.
kind of stick to white rice, jasmine rice. You have variations within that, basmati, those types of things. But you also have brown rice and you have wild rice that you can take into account that actually provide a bit more nutritional value than a white or jasmine rice. So I do like those. I think why people tend to err on the side of white rice is because of the easier digestion and the quicker acting carb, so the quicker digestion. So they might be having that as a pre-workout meal. So pre-workout
Hmm.
fuel where it's digesting quicker. But I do think brown rice can be utilized, wild rice and those variants of it, and be really well tolerated.
Yeah, I agree. It's something I've always wondered is like in our cutting phase when we're eating, 100 grams of rice, 150 grams of rice, like why don't more people switch to a brown rice or like a wild rice? But I feel like, white rice, jasmine, basmati is what we see most people doing in our field, our industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it comes down to being a bit easier to digest. So the fiber with the brown rice and the wild rice. But I like a brown rice and a wild rice. And if it digests well for you, there's no reason you can't have it. It's not white rice only if you're
Yeah.
prepping. And it also comes down to like also, when you're dieting, if you like white rice better, eat it. Like, if you like the taste better, you don't want to like eat things that you don't like because then
Hmm.
you're just suffering. So, if you don't even like brown rice at all, you can choose a white rice and be completely okay with that. So, that's another thing in dieting. It doesn't have to be one way is the only way. You can have a
Right.
little bit of variation of what works for you, and then you'll sustain it more.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that goes with all of these sources really, because like you could eat pasta. It's just that there's a much
Exactly.
greater likelihood that you're not gonna be able to stick to your diet because the portions will be so small. So it's just all of these sources will work. It's just that which ones will lend to more success. So next up we have oatmeal.
I love oatmeal so much. It's my favorite. So this is super packed with lots of, we'll get into that, but I got to
So
rank it first. So
I'm guessing shred fuel then.
yes,
Okay.
yes, top tier. Love oatmeal.
Okay. So let's break it down then. So digestibility.
9,
Mm.
a lot. I see a lot of times it digests really, really well. And, you know, it's not a perfect score. I rarely give like a perfect score, but
Hmm.
because it's person to person dependent. So you're always going to have those variants that you have to work with. And overall, it's great digesting.
Okay. And
It's
then
more
we
of a
have nutritional value.
sustained carb, too, right? So you're going
Yes.
to get that longer duration with that fiber and sustain that energy for a longer period of time. So, diet, if you're dieting, absolutely, oats should be in your plan.
Hmm.
For nutritional value, 10.
Yeah, oats have a ton of great micronutrients in them as well, in addition to like the fiber. And then that also helps with satiety, what would you put that one?
Absolutely. I would put that in a 10 as well.
Yes, so very satiating. You get a lot of volume for the amount of calories that you're consuming, and yeah, because of the fiber and the slower digestion, it can help you feel full for a lot longer too.
Yes, so many health benefits to these as well with the micronutrient profile of them, with the prebiotic that you get from the
Hmm.
fiber. Just so much. I love them. And you get a lot of volume and you feel full and satiated from that food that you're eating in your diet. I love them.
Yeah, and they're very versatile with how you can like flavor them and things like that. So it can be like a really nice, like tasty treat even when you're dieting. If you put like a protein powder in them or something else that makes them taste a little like sweeter. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's pretty versatile and being able to switch things around with it too.
Yeah. Berries are great, nut
Hmm.
butter. So getting a complete meal with them is so easy to do. And yeah, there's so many varieties. So you can keep switching it up and not get bored of the same thing. Even though I've had the same breakfast for 6 years and I never get bored of it because it's delicious.
What is
But
it?
um it is oats, berries, and then I
Hmm.
do egg whites and either whole egg or avocado. So that's the only thing I switch up, but I tend to
Hmm.
do the whole egg a little bit more. Always oats. Like I've never switched from oats in the morning. Like in a prep and in a growing phase, oats are my staple and then egg whites for my protein source, whole egg for the fat or sometimes
Do
an
you
avocado.
do you ever mix them together or do you eat it separately?
No, I eat it separately. My breakfast is like huge.
Okay.
Like when you're talking about volume, I'm like, I want to feel like I'm eating, you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
like have my plate of eggs and egg whites and then my bowl of oats. And it's, yeah, I keep that all the way through. So it's not even that, caloric dense too. And then when I'm building and I need more calories, I can easily make that a bit more calorie dense by just switching the fruit in my oats,
Hmm.
adding some chia seeds to them. They mix up really well, make it like fluffy too. So I like that.
Huh. Yeah, and that brings us to our next one, which we could also add pretty well in like the building season. So dates,
Oh yeah.
where would we put this one?
Yes, but for a cut, I would put them at the bottom. Binge bait.
Yes.
They would be at the bottom for a cut.
Yeah, and let's talk about why. So digestibility,
10 out of 10. Great on the
yeah,
digestive system. Very easy to digest.
and then nutritional value.
These for me get an 8 out of 10. I know a lot of people maybe fear dates because it's like sugar, but they actually have more to them than just sugar, and it is natural sugar, and they do have some additional nutritional value than just that. So they actually have good value to them, good
Yeah,
micronutrients.
in addition to a lot of fiber too. And
Yes, a lot of
then
fiber.
satiety.
1 out of 10, like, not satiating at all, so that's why they ended up at the bottom.
Yeah, yeah. So because of they do have a lot of natural sugar, they are a pretty calorie dense food. And yeah,
Mhm.
although they're easy to digest and nutritional, when you're dieting, it doesn't feel like you're eating anything when you eat a couple of dates, but it can easily be
Right.
100, 150 calories.
Yes, yes, like, I think, like, around, like, 40 grams of dates
Mhm.
can be close to, like, 45 to 50 grams of carbs, and
Yeah.
40 grams of dates, these things are, just small little ovals. That's not a lot. So
Hmm.
if you're dieting, that's a really not ideal pick
Yeah.
to keep you full and feel like you're having, a complete whole meal.
Yeah, absolutely. When we talk about carb sources for bulking, then maybe we'll probably readjust that. But
Absolutely.
right now, for if your goal is to lose weight, dates are not the best choice just because they're not satiating at all.
Yes.
So next up, we have tortilla.
Tortilla, I would put that in. mm, I'm deciding between technically legal and the bottom. What would you do?
I think I would put it in technically legal,
Okay.
but it's just your list. So which one do you think?
Okay, let's do technically legal because,
Okay.
again, some of them can, it depends. There's so many variations,
Mm,
and some of them can be a bit better options and choices than others. So it can be a little bit more satiating than definitely the dates. So yeah,
right.
that we would rank it above that. I agree.
Uh, so if we go to like the digestibility of tortillas, where would we put that?
In the middle, 6, you have flour variations and you have corn. So
Hmm.
some are going to be better than others. Again, this one, pay attention to getting a heavily processed tortilla versus a whole food, one ingredient, just it's real food and not processed and other additives to it. So that's where I would put digestion can vary greatly. You could have
Hmm.
a 0 with the one that's like the carb balance, like
Yeah,
packed with like 20 grams of fiber and I
all
don't know what
insoluble.
else. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's and those seem really appealing because it's like 50 calories for like a full wrap. But yeah, I think digestion will take a hit with those for sure.
Yeah, digestion. And you got to be careful with the nutrition label on reading those because they actually, because they pack it with so much fiber,
Hmm.
they're allowed to call it like carb balance and they actually subtract what they associate as net carb because of
Hmm.
that fiber. But those carbohydrates still count. Like, we're not
Right.
just not counting those and saying that the tortilla is like 10 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
So the nutrition label, that can be a bit tricky on those too, with those carb balance.
Yeah, that's true. So the nutritional value of tortillas, where would we put that?
Nutritional value, I would put that at a 3. Not
Yeah,
much
not much
on it.
there.
hmm On a micronutrient profile.
And then satiety.
I would give that a 4. Slightly more satiating than definitely a date.
Hmm.
And you're going to have, again, with the variations of the tortillas, it's just not as voluminous for me. So
No,
satiation,
it's
that's why
not.
I'm ranking it lower, because of the volume that you get for a single tortilla and what the calorie equivalent to a tortilla is. So yeah,
Right, because if we're opting not for those like carb balance ones and we're just looking at like the flour or corn, it's very easy to get like 100 grams of carbs from tortillas. Like if you eat, it's like four small things. So it's like
yeah,
when you're bulking, maybe it could be more of a place there, unless the digestibility kind of holds it back for you. But cutting, it's maybe not the best choice because it has similar nutritional value and satiety to something like rice, but is also less digestible. So it might be better to opt for
exactly.
one of these other choices instead.
Yeah. And my other tip for cutting is, and in regard to the tortilla, is keeping it simple too, because when you go for a tortilla, I know that no one's just packing the plain tortilla. Like you want to add things, you want to add different foods, like make it, good, like taste good. So that
Hmm.
adds calories for every little thing that you add into it, right? So we're not just having the tortilla. So when you simplify and break it down with making the most for your diet and the most for your calories, you would opt for something that's a little bit more simpler and having 2, 3 ingredients versus adding to that tortilla. And it's just more susceptible to add those calories up, right? Everything that you can load
Right. If
in
you
it.
want to add sour cream or salsa or cheese or
Mm-hmm.
something. Yeah. It's much more tempting
Yeah.
with the tortilla than rice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No, that's a good point. So that brings us to a next one, which we've talked about a couple times already, which is the potato.
Mm-hmm.
So where do we put this?
Potato at the top, shred fuel.
Yeah. And let's break it
Yeah.
down and we can see why. So digestibility.
9 out of 10. Really
Yeah,
easily
potatoes.
digestible. There's many variations and they're great on the digestion. So I love potatoes, all the variations
Yeah.
of them. hmm
And then nutritional value.
9 out of 10.
Yeah, much more nutrient dense than something like rice or tortillas. And then the satiety. Where do we put that?
10 out of 10 for satiation. Very filling. And going back to the nutritional value, I don't know if this is a common thing anymore, but I used to hear from a lot of clients and girls coming to me and women that they were staying away from or were told to stay away from white potato or a variation of those potatoes that are either russet, gold, those kind, right? So
Hmm.
they are very packed with nutritional value. So I just wanted to debunk that myth and misconception that they're like worse for you in a nutrient profile. They have great potassium, vitamins, and
Hmm.
minerals. So they can absolutely be utilized in your cut. No cutting carbs completely. They can
Yeah.
stay in, and can be great utilized to keep yourself full and satiated. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't think potatoes get enough credit for during
Mm-mm.
cuts because they are so easy, like over rice, even like there's so much,
Mm-hmm.
they're just as easy to digest, but they also have much more nutritional value. And when you're cutting,
Yes.
like you can eat so much more volume if you're eating potatoes. And it's been huge for me, eating potatoes during my cut.
Yeah. Yeah. I always prefer those over rice in my cut in a deficit. And a lot of all my clients do as well. They can eat so much more.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the nutritional value is great. So choosing that over rice in a deficit, you're going to get those nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that you may be missing out with because of the reduction in calories. So,
Hmm.
sometimes bodybuilding, it's like, chicken and rice for every
Yeah.
meal. And unless you're pairing rice with a vegetable, then we're
Hmm.
getting a bit more nutritional value. But only having chicken and rice, you're gonna have some repercussions of that. I've
Yeah,
seen
some
it a lot.
pretty
Yeah.
big micronutrient deficiencies if that's all you're
Right.
doing. And that is surprisingly common too. So,
Yes.
um,
Yes. Very.
yeah, so it's definitely good to add in potatoes too. And potatoes also there's so much different ways you can cook it. So it's another one of those things like oatmeal where you can just like have so much variety. You can air fry it and it tastes amazing. You can bake it, then it tastes totally different. And then you can mash it. It's like there's so many different varieties that all taste amazing and serve a great purpose. So
Yes, that's another like huge, massive tip. I was like, there's so much coming up in this because there's so much with the dieting and the carb sources, but that's a huge tip because just switching up the variation of how you cook it can change the entire food,
yeah,
right? So it can make, you can get not tired of something like that. There's so many different variations in like you mentioned baked potato, cubing it, cutting it into little fries, the way you do
hmm
it. So it can all be so beneficial in helping you sustain the diet and not get sick of the same food.
yeah, and that brings up to our next. We decided to put in a separate category, even though it is a potato, but a sweet potato. So where would we put this one?
Top tier, top tier shred food.
Yes. Yeah, so very similar to potato, but there's just a couple of differences that we'll go through here. So digestibility, where we put sweet potato.
8 out of 10, just slightly, very, very slightly under potato. It's going to be personal dependent again, but they do have a bit more fiber, which can slow the digestion just a little bit. But
Hmm.
it can be really beneficial with that fiber because it's going to sustain your energy and be a longer acting, slower digestion carbohydrate.
Right. And then that brings us to nutritional value, where we put that.
10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Packed.
ton of great micronutrients and fiber
Mm-hmm.
in sweet potatoes. And then
Yes.
satiety.
10 out of 10 as well. You're going to, it's very, very right on the money with potato and all the variations of potato. You're getting so much more volume for the caloric amount. So you can eat more.
Yeah, and then I know we were talking before we started filming about the purple
Oh, yeah.
Japanese sweet potatoes. So is
Yeah.
that something you use a lot, or how are the
Yeah.
macros on that? Is it same?
Yeah, we both love the Japanese potato, which is
Hmm.
like the purple sweet potato, and it can be called a Japanese, or I've seen it called a murasaki, if you've heard of that. And it's just a variation of a potato. There's so many, and I advise you guys to utilize all of them. And it's so delicious. Like it's
It is,
sweeter than a sweet potato, actually sweeter than a sweet potato. So it,
and the
it
texture
actually
is
feels
so
like it's
yeah. I don't even know
denser.
how to describe it.
Yeah, it's denser, so it's more concentrated, so it's almost creamier in a sense,
Yeah,
like,
I
it's
think that's what the
so
word I would use
good.
is like creamier. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, I use those a ton, and I program them as well, and, they're great in all the variations we talked about, doing a traditional baked sweet potato,
Hmm.
I've done little fries,
Even steamed,
so yeah.
it's like
So,
they're
I
so
love
good.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
so many variations of potatoes to utilize in your cut phase that you could literally never get bored of eating potatoes because there's, all the ones we talked about.
Mm,
I utilize the potato medley, which is just like those red,
the
russet,
small ones.
purple. Yep. And that switches it up for me too. So, yeah, they're my favorite food.
Yeah, and I think another reason people might avoid these is because it's like harder to prepare than rice.
Yeah.
Because rice you can prepare in these huge batches. But I bought this tool on Amazon, which is like it's like this has a suction cup on one end and a grater on the other. And you just put the potato in, and it's like pull down the lever, and it cuts immediately. So that's like a really nice shortcut I've used. It like cuts them into like fry shapes, basically, and then
Oh,
you can prepare like 10 potatoes within 5 minutes, and then you just put them in the fridge just like you would for rice, and just throw them in the air fryer or whatever before you make them.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a great tool. Yeah, a lot of kitchen tools can really help in your cooking and meal prep. We could do a
Hmm.
whole nother series on how to cook and meal
Yeah,
prep
top tier kitchen tools.
efficiently. Yes, because they make a big difference in making it efficient. So that's a good point that like, yeah, rice, you throw it in the rice cooker or Instant Pot and
Hmm.
it can be done quickly. Potatoes take a bit longer, but they're worth it, and they're not very difficult when you have, the tool like that you have, that's
Right.
great. Or you just to do a baked one, I just wrap it in foil real quick and pop it in the oven for an hour. You don't have to watch it, and then they're all
Yeah,
like all prepped and done
and
and
you just do
ready.
multiple at a time.
Yeah. I was really heavily on like I would do a baked, mostly all I do regular sweet potatoes, but the Japanese sweet potato is best like this. I would do it baked, so I would traditionally wrap it, bake it, get it soft, and then I'd prep all of them like that. And then I'd
Mm.
keep it in the fridge, and then when I'd go to eat and make my meal, I'd cut it into like slices, so they're like pretty thick, like circular slices, and then I'd almost like caramelize it on the pan, like just like
Oh, that sounds good.
get it
Yeah.
a little bit like crisp on each side and a little bit
Hmm.
caramelized. And it was, I'm telling you, like a treat. So there's a lot of variations to it, and you can get creative in a prep, in a diet.
Yeah, I know we're talking about potatoes a lot, but I feel like it's worth it because
Yeah.
that's how good they are, and then they should absolutely
Yes.
be in there.
Yeah, for sure.
One more thing about potatoes before we move from the topic
Yeah.
is how do you weigh them? So because the different preparations, they yield so much different weights. So it's like, do you use cooked weight or do you use raw weight when you give them to your clients?
So I use cooked weight, and I calculate the cook weight in whatever method you're tracking. So you got to make sure that whatever method you're logging or tracking is equivalent to the weight, right? So I had many times, well, I explained that it's going to vary if you weigh it
Hmm.
cooked versus uncooked, but whatever way you do it, you just have to be very consistent with it. And the macronutrients and calories have to reflect cooked versus uncooked.
Yeah, yeah, because if you bake it, it's going to be very different than if you like air fry it, because the air fry
Yes.
will be so. Yeah, just important to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, for that, usually I just weigh it raw for that reason, just that way I just know it's this much potato I'm eating, and then prepare however you want, and then.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do it
But yeah,
absolutely like that. I find that only challenging when I'm meal prepping it. So, like, there's so many potatoes, and then it's like,
that's true.
Um, that's
Yeah, that
hard
makes
to,
sense.
like, find which potato
Yeah.
so it's always worked for me when and my clients, when we've kept it consistent and
Mhm.
always weighed it cooked and then equated that cooked weight to the accurate macronutrients for that. So just keeping it consistent across the board so you're not flip-flopping back and forth, that will make it tough and make drastic changes in the measurements.
Yeah. Yeah, just an important thing to note with potatoes. Okay. Next up, we have cream of rice.
Yes, cream of rice. Okay, let's put that one. We can put that one alongside rice. They're very similar. So,
Okay.
diet safe. Yes, I'm looking at the names.
Okay. So, digestibility. What do we put there?
Digestibility, it would be a 10 out of 10. It would be a little bit better than rice, super easy to digest.
Hmm.
So, I would give that one a 10.
And then the nutritional value.
I would give that a 4. So, nutritional value, there's not too much in cream of rice, micronutrient wise, vitamins, minerals. But depending on the cream of rice you get, most of them, some of them are
Hmm.
fortified in the processing with vitamins, right? So, vitamins and
Yeah.
minerals being like your B vitamins, folate, iron. So you are getting a little bit of something if in the processing, the one you're intaking is fortified.
And the satiety.
Satiety, I would give that a 4 as well. So not very satiating. It's going to be matching very similarly with rice. The difference being I do feel like you get a bit more volume out of cream of rice. Don't you feel like? Because it's like it
I guess,
expands like with the water and it expands. I don't do much cream of rice because
yeah,
I personally oats every day I'm choosing over
right.
cream of rice, but
Just because, yeah,
some
that's
people
why I was
love cream of
questioning.
rice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was questioning whether to put in diet safe or technically legal, just because, yeah, it is pretty carb dense and not
Yes.
satiating. Because even though it's more filling, it's like one serving is like 35 grams of carbs, and one serving is not very filling. But yeah, no,
No.
it is very
Should
similar
we
to
put it
rice. But
should we bump it down?
for
It is
dieting,
yes, down
yeah,
because I was putting it very close to rice. The difference though, I'm thinking about it now, it's actually going to be quicker digesting than rice
yes, which
because
makes
it's
it even less
broken
satiating.
down finely ground white
Hmm.
rice. So it's so finely ground that it makes it way faster digesting. So it
Yeah,
actually goes below rice. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's the main reason why. Yes, it's faster,
Yeah.
super fast digesting.
High glycemic index.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if we're getting technical and you pair it with like nut butters and
yeah. Then you can
things like that,
slow it down and
yeah, but most of the time it's going to be not as satiating and not as voluminous. You'll actually get
mhm,
way more oats for the amount calorically equivalent. You'll get a more voluminous oats than you will of cream of rice.
right. Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
only reason to maybe have it would be if you like had it strictly pre-workout or something like that.
Yeah.
But even
Yeah.
then, it's definitely not something that I feel like is necessary when you're dieting.
No.
Um, like if you can, especially if you can replace it with one of these things up here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I would definitely put it there. It's good to know.
okay. And then we have fruits.
Okay. I would put that at the top. Shred
Yeah.
fuel.
And I think we'll definitely have to go through it because I think there is a pretty big misconception with this one too.
Yes.
So digestibility, how do we have that?
10 out of 10.
Yes, extremely digestible.
Hmm.
Nutritional value,
10 out of 10 again.
yes. And the satiety, this is where we'll get into it a little bit, but what would we put that as?
Yeah. Flip-flopping, looking at overarching for fruits, giving it a 6, but we'll talk about how some are better satiating than others. You have a big
Yeah,
variation in the types of fruits that you choose.
right. And that's where we need to make the distinction because they are extremely digestible, extremely nutritional. And if you choose the right ones, they can be satiating. So, which are the right ones that we should be focusing on when we're trying to cut or lose weight?
Yeah. Okay, so berries are going to be a top choice. All
Hmm.
variations of berries are absolutely fantastic nutritional value wise, volume for calorie and satiation. So I would give berries the top of the top for cutting and keeping
Yeah.
them in a growth too. I mean, they're so packed with lots of
Yeah.
vitamins.
Blueberries, strawberries,
Yep, blackberries,
blackberries. Yeah.
raspberries. Yeah, love them all. So, um, they're going to be closer to the best that you can choose for volume if we're talking about satiation. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the ones that are a little bit more caloric dense for the amount is a banana. So that's like an
Hmm.
easy reference to note. It's going to 4 gram for gram. You're going to get way less of a banana. If we're talking about here's the portion of 100 grams
Right.
of berries, it's going to be a full
Huge compared
versus
to,
a small 100-gram of banana. Sometimes it's not even a full banana.
yeah. Yeah. 100
Yeah.
grams is like a small, medium banana. Yeah. And then they're the ones that are like heavily filled with water, also, that could be good options. like a
Yes,
cantaloupe
absolutely.
or melon or
Melon.
something like that.
And then apple, you'll get more too for
Hmm.
definitely like almost double the amount gram wise for carbohydrate equivalent to a banana. So like I think more than double. Like
Yeah.
yeah. So same thing with like the melons with the water based and yes. So lots of awesome sources and you know, you can utilize still the banana. They have great nutritional value, potassium as everybody references
Hmm.
and natural sugars. I think the misconception we can relate it to like the dates is that you shouldn't have like sugar based, but these natural occurring sugars and fruits are one of the richest natural sources of vitamins. So
Yeah.
you absolutely want them in your diet and they can help provide with so many internal benefits. So keeping those in and not avoiding because they have sugar,
Yeah.
it's very useful in the body.
Right. And if you actually look at it, even though it has sugar with the fiber and all those other things with them, a lot of times they're actually lower on the glycemic index than something like
Hmm.
rice or something like that. That's super fast digesting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You have to look at also what they're doing in the body. Like the nutrient partitioning is huge. So
Hmm.
how these carbohydrates are broken down. So
The antioxidants. I mean,
yes, exactly. You know, simple sugars like so yeah, there's a lot to this, but I think we gave a really awesome breakdown of everything and like tips
yeah.
too for each category.
So now we have one last one. It's because I
Oh
added it in
yes.
last minute. So we have bread.
Oh yes, bread. Okay. What category for bread? Mm,
Um, hmm. Are you between two? Which
it's
two are
one
you
of the
between?
it's one of the bottom two. It's one of the bottom two. Um,
I think,
technically legal.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Probably the same as tortilla.
It's a similar source.
Okay, so let's kind of talk about the digestibility and the nutritional value and satiety. So where do we go with that?
Digestibility can range due to the different types of bread. So overall, giving that a 6 out of 10.
And what are some of the easier to digest versus less digesting?
So a really popular bread, it's very popular now, is sourdough.
Hmm.
So I like a sourdough bread. It has a bit more nutritional value and a bit better digesting. So, even referencing people with gluten allergies that actually have celiac and intolerances or actual allergies, they are safer with the sourdough and most
Hmm.
of the time can tolerate because of the fermentation process of the bread, so making it easier digestible for them. So that's why I would put that one as probably the top tier bread choice if you're going to go any of them.
Yeah, totally agreed. Yeah, sourdough is, first of all, it tastes amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is also the definitely the best digesting and most micronutrient dense too of the
Mm-hmm.
breads. Okay, so then nutritional value, or we rank that.
3.
Okay,
So,
yep, pretty low.
what? Yes, sourdough is going to have a slightly more nutritional value than a typical white bread. It is still not even comparison to the powerhouses at the top for nutritional
Hmm.
value. So, your vegetables, fruits, potatoes, you're going to get that nutritional value tenfold over the bread.
Absolutely. And then the satiety.
Mm, I would rank that pretty low. I would rank that a 2 out of 10.
Yeah. That's definitely, if you're not watching, like it's you can eat a lot of carbs with bread.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty easy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Satiation with that, again, you're going to get less volume for, I always go back to like, if you're in a diet, you want to eat more food typically.
Hmm.
So you're not going to be able to eat as much bread as you would another carb source that we ranked at the top fruits, oats, vegetables. So it's not like you cannot have it. I think having it in a little bit flexibility if you prefer that carb source, but knowing that you won't be satiated for as long of a duration as some of the top ones we ranked.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why it could be used in a different setting if your goals are different. But if we're strictly talking about losing weight and what will make you the most successful, satiety is a very important part of that.
Yes.
Okay, so any last minute changes, or should we rank them within the tiers? So especially the top one here.
Oh, that's so hard to do.
That's a really hard one.
I know because they all have different nutrient profiles. So you're
Yeah.
going to get different vitamins and minerals and nutrients, antioxidants, the whole thing from different choices. So my recommendation would be to have a bit of variety in your
Mhm.
diet so you're still getting that nutrient profile of those top ones. So that would be tough to rank
If
them.
if you were, let's say you're dieting for shows, this is not probably any average person will not have to worry about this. But let's
Yeah.
say you're like trying to get stage lean, and you're eating like 1,000 calories. Um, is there one of these that you would drop at that point?
Yes, unfortunately.
So which one would it be?
So I've been there before. It's not something
Mhm.
I recommend. It's very tough and very extreme, but stage lean is extreme. I don't take any of my lifestyle athletes, and typically none of my prep clients have to get that low because we set them up for the most success prior. So the long answer to that is I would first to go would be my fruit, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So I would keep in my oats. Like I said, I have them consistent through
Hmm.
keeping in potatoes and utilizing those as my top carb source. And then vegetables provide a lot of volume. So I would do like a stir fry, like that has like stir fry, meaning like just as many vegetables as I can manage,
Yeah.
right? Because carbs get lower and you get hungrier and you want to eat more. So I pack it with a lot of vegetables, like had discussed.
Like I said, zucchini is a great one because it's
Zucchini is
like
so great.
you
You
can
can
eat
have
so
like
much of that.
three.
Yeah.
Cucumbers are
Yeah.
awesome. And then I do like mixed vegetables too. I like, bell peppers, mushrooms. I
Hmm.
do the whole
Peppers are good.
I
Mushrooms are
love
great. Yeah.
yeah, I love all vegetables. So it depends on the way you cook them too. So yeah, you can absolutely keep those and incorporate those in your diet all the way through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's do a quick breakdown of what is separating each of these tiers. So these top ones, they're all very easy to digest. They also, but I think what really separates these from the rest are probably the nutritional profile.
Mm-hmm.
So not only are they easy to digest, they also have really high, very dense in micronutrients, and they're very high in satiety. So these are pretty good across the board in all three of those categories. Then we have the diet safe ones, which are legumes and rice. So those two are pretty different, right? So legumes are pretty micronutriently dense, whereas rice is not. But rice is easier to digest, whereas legumes can maybe be a little bit tougher for some people. And then both are probably legumes are probably a bit more satiating than rice, but rice is kind of carried by its versatility and easy to digestibility. And then we have the technically legal ones, which are yes, you could put these in your diet, but there are some pretty big limitations, mostly being satiety. These are all very carb dense. So if you're trying to stick to a certain carb goal or calorie goal, the portions will be really small if you choose one of these. And not only that, these are also pretty low in micronutrients. So we would probably opt for one of these ones above, if that's the goal. Especially when we have to make choices, like we were talking about, when calories get low, you have to make choices, and it's probably better to choose one with a higher micronutrient profile. And then we have the binge bait, so pasta and dates, extremely low satiety. So portion sizes are going to be tiny. By the time you're done eating it, you're just going to want more food, and you probably will go binge and eat more food.
Yes. Yeah. So much great information in this. Like people can really utilize this and make those choices in try these things out. Try a lot of the tips we discussed and then see how it goes and let us know what you like better or prefer better, and if you feel fuller and how your cut goes, if that's the phase you're in. So let us know.
Absolutely. And if you have any questions about your diet, you can contact Nicolette on Proseek. She offers a ton of services there and is very knowledgeable about diet and training. But what are some of the things that you offer on there that you can help people out with their diet?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of different options. So if you're looking for coaching, I have one-on-one coaching. You can have a free consultation with me, whether you're looking to do competition prep or lifestyle. And then Proseek has an awesome feature too, where if you are just getting into it or kind of questioning your diet, if you're on the right track, you can submit for a diet review, and then I can walk you through what changes I would make, what I think would be a bit better and more optimal to get you to your goal. And I can respond with video, message. So it's a really cool feature. And then we have the Q&A page, right? So we can
Yeah.
anyone can ask any question, and you have pros, myself, and a few other pros that you know are giving you very credible um, care. We care about your goals and how you are facilitating like your health and everything. So it's a really great
Yeah.
feature.
And that Q&A is only, so first of all, Nicolette's features on her profile, the Q&A is a separate thing where you have access to all the pros on the platform and it's only $5 a month. So really great place. Instead of checking Reddit or checking all these other random forums where anyone can answer, you can get all your questions answered by all the IFBB pros on our platform, and we have over 70. So definitely take a look at that, and all the links will be posted below. And I guess that is good for this week, and we will do another topic next week.
Yes. Thank you so much for following, and we will see you back next week. Hope you liked this one. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are and what your favorite diet food is.
Yes, absolutely. And we will see you next week. All right.